Welcome to this week's HACCP Mentor review. I'm Amanda Evans, and this week we're going to look at the difference between a mock recall and a mock crisis. We're also going to check out some refresher training in identifying CCPs. We're going to go through and identify some different scenarios that you can use when you test your business contingency plans. We'll also do our standard wrap-up of this week's food recalls and food poisoning outbreaks. Okay, let's have a look at our food poisoning outbreaks. A listeria outbreak this week was linked to ricotta cheese imported from Italy into the USA, and it continues this week with up to around 18 people have now been hospitalised. So Forever Cheese of Long Island City in New York has recalled all of its lots of its ricotta salita fresciona cheese over the course of the last month after the product was linked to a multi-state outbreak of Listeria monocytogenes. Another outbreak in the news this week is, again, salmonella in peanuts. Peanut butter has been involved in a multi-state outbreak in the US linked to salmonella in Trader Joe's Valencia creamy salted peanut butter. This product's manufactured by Sunland, and it may be potentially linked to other brands of peanut and almond butters made by the same company. And it's amazing the flow-on effect of this contamination has resulted in a heap of different food recalls by several food manufacturers who actually have used the affected peanut butter as an ingredient in their own product. We'll have a look at some training. If you need direction or a good refresher on CCPs, check out the Food Training Institute's training on how to identify your critical control points. The training gives you a step-by-step process to ensure that you've identified your hazards correctly and your CCPs correctly. There'll be a link to the training at the end of this, in the show notes to this review. I've seen this week there's been a lot of talk on the online forums regarding mock recall and mock crisis, and really what the difference is between the two. So a mock recall and a mock crisis are really two very different things. A recall relates to the testing the traceability and removal of affected product from the marketplace, where a mock crisis is actually about testing business contingency procedures. So talking about recalls, let's have a look at recalls that have happened this week around the world. There's been a few. So I've got salmonella in beef bully sticks, undeclared sesame allergens in first grain bars, listeria in champ sliced mushrooms, salmonella in energy nuggets, E. coli in XL Foods ground beef coming out of Canada, undeclared milk and soy allergens in different jams and jellies, plastic pieces found in Foster's Clark's snack packs and custard cups from Australia. There's been undeclared allergens in whey protein concentrates around milk and shellfish and coconut. E. coli in Kirkland brand beef steaks has been recalled. Another labelling issue, undeclared peanuts in Almond Nature Valley sweet and salty nut granola bars. Listeria recall around chopped hearts of romaine, which is a type of lettuce. And insect infestation in Hera brand dry dates. So that's a few of the recalls that have come out this week. If you want more information on each of those recalls, just go to www.foodproductrecalls.com and you can get more information and have a look at what else is going on around the world with regards to recalls. We've got an upcoming event with the SQF International Conference being held in Cincinnati, in the US, from the 6th to the 8th of November. So the program is very comprehensive and includes my presentation on using critical thinking to prevent HACCP failures. So if you're going to the conference or if you haven't registered yet, check out the SQF website. If you end up going, come and find me. Like I said, I'll be doing my presentation on critical thinking. One of the other things we've been having a look at this week is around testing your crisis management plan. So we look at the majority of food safety GFSI standards require that you test your crisis management plan. The reason to test the system is to make sure that if it really happens, you'll be prepared as possible. In saying this, you should be testing all of your procedures around your emergency management and your contingency planning. So off the top of my head, some scenarios that you might like to consider when you do your testing. can include things like what would you do if half your workforce couldn't show up to work tomorrow because of, say, bird flu or some natural disaster? What if your major raw material supplier went into administration tomorrow? How would you supply your customers if you didn't have any raw material? What if the truck that transports your product to market rolled on the freeway and killed other motorists? There's a lot of media that's going to be around, so how would you go through and deal with that? What if you had a disgruntled employee who started to sabotage your product that then gets released into the market? Again, this is another one that would have a lot of media associated with it. Whatever scenario that you decide to use, remember to go back to the basics of what are you actually trying to achieve through this process. And it should really be around trying to test those procedures to the full to make sure that should something actually ever happen in your business, you will be prepared. Now, if you're into technology and you have an iPhone, check out this app called iAuditor. It allows you to develop inspection checklists that you can complete directly from your phone and then sync it back to your computer. I think it's definitely useful for GMP audits and the reporting of these. I've put a couple of links in the show notes again, so you can find out a little bit more about this app. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and it's shaving off so much time off my audits when I'm doing my third-party audits. So check it out. It's called iAuditor. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Amanda Evans, and I'll talk to you next week.